Hurrah! Get some. What's going on, everybody? So before we get started, hey, I just want you to know that there was no intro because of the fact that the show is mobile this week. I am in transition from our place back overseas in Qatar. So, we're just semper gumby, as we like to say in the Marine Corps. We just roll with the punches, right? So, but before we get started, I like to say, always premise the show that, hey, my thoughts and opinions, or even the thoughts and opinions of my guests, does not necessarily sometimes line up with Sitch Radio. It doesn't reflect on any of the, um, all the administrative and lawyer things, and you as well. So you also have the choice of being able to just swipe left, keep moving on, because this is freedom of speech. And that is one of the things that I served for many, many years while in the Marine Corps. So with that being said, today's show is really, really cool because I have a really awesome guest. This gentleman right here, he's a retired Navy lieutenant commander. He also one day just got on his bike and left the U.S. and has been traveling all around the world. So really, really interesting. But so let's go ahead and bring him into the fold. I'd like to introduce everybody, Mr. Steve, the Wisnoski. What's going on, big dog?
Hey, how's everybody going? Thanks, Frank, for having me here.
Hey, brother, you really, really have a really interesting background. But tell us a little bit about your career. You served in the Navy. Is that right?
Yeah, I did 23 years active duty in the United States Navy. So I was enlisted for 11 years as an electrician and got my college degree, went to Navy Officer Candidate School and got to interact with a lot of you Marine types out there that molded me into a naval officer. Fun 13 weeks of craziness. Um, and then I got commissioned as a surface warfare officer, and I was unrestricted line officer for 12 years, mostly shipboard, destroyers, cruisers, mine hunters, things of that nature. So yeah, 23 years active duty and retired in November 2010. I've been retired a while.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So you retired about 4 years before I did. So, but hey, thanks for your
Yeah.
service, man. That's
Hey, thanks
awesome.
for yours, Frank. You got it.
I didn't know.
Very
I
well.
didn't know that you were prior enlisted. So you're a Mustang yourself as well.
Well, that's why you and I are friends, right?
Hey, all right, get some. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh.
Hey, Steve. So you really have a pretty interesting story to tell, and I've always ever since we met each other, we actually met through common friends and through motorcycling and off roading. But your story, you have a pretty cool story to tell. Now, tell us, how was it that you ended up going on this walkabout of yours?
So, like a lot of motorcyclists, I rode street bikes for a long time. I started 28 years ago, I guess, and
Hmm.
rode street bikes. And then about 5, 6 years later, I got a dirt bike, and I was like, "Hey, this is cool." And even on my street bikes, I was always kind of looking, where does the next path go? And I would end up being on a sport bike, doing a little dirt road, a gravel road, and like, this isn't a good idea. So 2007-ish, so it's been a while. I'm looking for a new bike, and a Navy captain is like, "Hey, I think a BMW R1200 GS would be what you might want to try next, Lieutenant." And I go, "Sir, I don't even know what that I don't even know what that means. Like, I didn't know what R or GS meant." So basically, if you
Right.
don't know, it's a they call it an adventure bike, so it's a real heavy street bike that's pretty good at being off road. It's probably a 80% street bike, 25% dirt bike kind of thing. So I bought that, and then it was right around the time I know, Charlie and Ewan riding around the world on Beamers, and I was like, man, maybe I'll do that someday. And so I had a goal of Alaska, had a goal of Ushuaia, Argentina, which is Fin del Mundo, the end of the world, the furthest south on the planet you can ride or drive in a road.
Right.
So Alaska, Argentina, and ride around the world is where the idea got implanted in my brain, and I've wanted to do that for a long time. 2008, I rode Bay Alaskan back from San Diego while I was on active duty. Did that crazy
No
8
kidding.
8,400 miles in 15 days because I had to jump on a plane and go back east and all that stuff.
Right.
And that's where I was kind of born.
Wow. No, and I remember that. you were also you and I were counterparts in the motorcycle safety program. Um, not only for the state of California, but on the DoD side and stuff.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of talked about it, and by the way, you're a heck of a madman on that motorcycle. I know at some of the development workshops that we went to, was a Horse Thief Mile and all the other places. I mean, you can
Yeah,
really
right.
move, ladies and gentlemen. This man can move on that motorcycle. uh, at a track. I mean, it was amazing how this guy just whips this thing around with knobby tires at that.
Yeah, yeah,
So kudos to
yeah.
you. But yeah, I remember that. After some years of you and me, we met up in Ocotillo Wells, as a matter of fact.
Yes,
And
yes,
one of your
yeah.
Hondas didn't want to start, and you ended up riding one of the little. I think it was a little two-stroke 125s that the wife and I
Right.
had at the
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
And shortly after, I think you sending me a text, or you called me and say, "Hey, man, I think it was 20. Was it 2017 when you took off, or 2018?"
Yeah. 2017. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
January, and you were like, "Hey, man, I'm leaving the country. I'm going on my bike. Peace out."
Right.
So, what led you to that thought? Like, you know what? I'm cutting the umbilical cord, and I'm out. What led to that?
Well, yeah. So cool. Frank and I are friends. We're dirt bike, Ocotillo Wells, toy boxes, trailers,
Yeah,
and
I know.
motorcycle
Oh,
safety instructor
and
buddies, and
Desert
that
Delights. Let's
awesome
not forget
desert.
the Desert
Yeah.
Delights.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, when it's freezing cold in the desert at night and you're sitting around the bonfire, you take some coals, you set them underneath your little camping chair, and warms your ass up and your whole body. So that's cool.
Not too much, because
So,
it'll melt that shit out of.
well, all right, it'll destroy your chair and maybe more. So,
Yeah,
so Frank, anyway, like a lot of us, went through a change of life. Had the house and the kids and all the stuff up in San Diego County area, loved it,
yeah,
and kind of went through a split up and then a divorce and kind of sold everything and was living in the desert in my motorhome for a full winter, which was really
yeah.
cool. But I mean, we always talked about that around the bonfire, right? Like, man, how cool it would be to live here, and we just jump on our bike whenever. So I did that for 4 months, and then I was like, man, it's time to pull the trigger, and like most people, you're a little nervous, you're a little afraid going through Central America. I didn't speak Spanish, like I could barely
Right.
order a beer and ask how something cost and where's a hotel. Like that was my Spanish. But I was like, you know what? It's time. I was nervous, but had a little going away party. Left in December of 2017, actually. And I thought, you know what? I'll be gone 6 to 9 months, right? I can do 900 miles a day, no problem. 700, 600, 500. I did the math. I can ride to Argentina and back, as long as the weather's okay, right? It's opposite of Alaska, so winter here or wherever you were at, winter up north is summer. So I was like, I'll do it in 6 to 9 months, and I took off and went through Mexico. Not too difficult. Got to the Guatemala border. Couldn't speak English. I had a really
You
hard
mean
time getting
Spanish?
through the.
Because I know we're speaking.
Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, good correct. Couldn't speak Spanish, so I had a really hard time getting through the first border,
How
but
was
finally
that? Yeah, how was the
made
the
it
whole language
through.
barrier thing, dude?
Dude, it was frustrating and difficult, and it was really hard. But I stumbled through Guatemala, and then the next
Border?
border
Yeah.
was El Salvador, and I decided to hire what they call a fixer. So this guy who speaks good English and Spanish and knows the process, and there's always somebody there to make money at the border. I gave him $20, and he held my hand, not literally, but held my hand, walked me through, stamping out of Guatemala, stamping my bike out of Mexico, bike out of Mexico, my body into Guatemala, my bike into Guatemala, and I said, all right. Then I got to the Honduras border, and I'm learning a little Spanish, and I said, all right, fixer, I will pay you after you do it, but I'll give you a propina solamente. I'll only pay you a tip, depending on how well you did. So he held my hand, got me through, and I gave him, I don't know, $7 or $8. He was happy. And then after that, getting into Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, I did it all on my own, and just slowly learned Spanish. And then after that, everybody kind of asks if they know, there's no road from Panama to Colombia. It's the Darien Gap,
Right. The Devon Gap.
and it's
Yeah.
about 60 miles of dense jungle, and there's some drug problems and human trafficking, and there's indigenous tribes, and there's national parks and government and police, and there's just no
Right.
roads. So
Yeah.
shared a shipping container from Panama to Cartagena, Colombia, with a Japanese guy in a minivan, two Swiss people on KTM 640s, and a Chinese guy on a 200cc Honda he bought in Mexico, and shipped over from Panama to Colombia and kept on going from there.
That is crazy, dude. It for somebody that's that wants to do this. Uh, what are some of the challenges that an individual faces? You know, and some of the logistics. If you could just kind of like fill in the gaps on that. What are some of the challenges that
Right.
before and enduring your travels, aside from the fact that there may be a language barrier if you don't habla.
Right. Yeah. So really, really good questions, and there are a lot of them for an American or European as well, or anybody kind of foreign. And the language, of course, is one, and everybody figures that out somehow or another. Some people just use their translator and point it in the face of the other guy, and they go back and forth. Some of the logistic stuff is, I would say, one thing is, I came up with this. I think if you're in Latin America and you are in a hurry, you are the only one in a hurry. All
Well, I'm
right.
not in America. I know this.
Now I've basically been out of the country for 4 years now, a little over 4 years in Latin America. I'm currently in Bogota, Colombia, sitting in my Jeep, doing this
Nice.
interview.
Shout
And
out to my fellow Colombians.
yeah, yeah. And one day, Francisco and I will meet up probably in Medellin, however you want to say it, in Colombia, and hang out. But so time is difficult. Like, places don't open when advertised. They close early. They're not open tomorrow for no reason. Everything's kind of like, how Nike is just do it. Well, it's like just do it mañana. Everything's kind of mañana. So
Yeah.
time wise and scheduling is difficult to get maintenance done, to buy parts or tires and stuff. So that's tough. But another thing is, we're used to in the US anyway, we can travel, 3 to 500 miles a day pretty easily. So in our
Yeah.
mind, it's like, well, why can't we? Well, as soon as I got to Guatemala, the roads are,
Yeah. The
filled with
infrastructure is not
potholes
good.
and curvy and hills and buses passing on blind corners. And like, if you do like 200 miles a day in a lot of these countries in Central America and even Colombia, Frank knows, 200 miles a day or maybe 300, and it's an all day event, you are wore out. So
Yes.
it's very challenging getting the miles in each day. And each city, each country, the traffic patterns are different. The way people drive are different or ride.
Right.
So, and the signs for one way streets or stop signs or traffic lights or people cutting in, and speed bumps are like, oh my god, crazy. So the traffic patterns are really difficult. So I have to kind of, when I go into a new place now, I'll follow a motorcycle because I don't even know if there's a four-way stop or nobody stops. So traffic is difficult. Of course, food is different. um all the food's different, and I don't know what else, trying to, gasoline. I don't know, just a lot of stuff. But there's always somebody to help you out. If you have a smile and a positive attitude and you're respecting the country you're in and the person you're talking to, everybody
Right.
wants to help. So that just kind of smooths it over. Just have an open mind and a smile on your face and say, thanks for letting me in your country and helping me. And like, everybody they'll probably carry your motorcycle through the city. I mean, the people are so wonderful. So there's challenges, but rewards are huge.
Now I know that in your travels, you've hit me up with some of the, tell us about a time where you were in a situation or in an area you were like, oh, whoa, yeah, this is not so bueno, not too good of an area or situation. I know, and I'm not trying to paint the picture that that everything's bad, because there's bad situations here in right in
Right.
our backyard. It's just that, but some of
Yeah.
the things that you should be wary that you are in somebody else's backyard now, and that you've encountered certain situations. Can you give us an example of one?
Yeah. I mean, again, you're right. Remember, you're in another country. There's different customs and language. The police are different. The military is different. The expectations. I mean, and I know people like to hear about the struggles too. I mean, that's humans are like that. You read a book and everybody's happy and kumbaya. It's kind of boring. So, I mean, the one thing that's interesting to a lot of people, even to me, is the police and the encounters you will have, and that's from Mexico all the way down to Argentina. Um, you'll get stopped by the police, and usually they're low paid and they're not very well trained. And the culture kind of is, hey, try to make a little extra money for themselves or their family or whatever. The good part is I've never feel like the police are very threatening or not even that arrogant. So they're not, but they do make you feel a little uncomfortable by, trying to get money out of you. Like, take your license and we're not going to give it back until you go do this or you pay this. Or Mexico, they sometimes will even take your license plate, things like that. So the whole police interaction thing and, paying for a ticket on the spot with corruption or bribe, that can be intimidating. And it still works me up a little too, because I don't understand everything they're saying in Spanish. I don't know what they're trying to get at. So the police encounters can be intimidating because it's not, Chile is not like that. They're very, they're not corrupt and they've cleaned it up. But the police interactions, I guess, would probably be some of the most nerve-wracking parts, because we're not used to that in the U.S. We don't like police encounters, but we're not really worried about. I mean, worst case, if you're at least cooperating, you're going to pay, $300 or $400 ticket. Down here, you don't know what's going through their minds. If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. I guess I can say, not, knock on wood. In my travels and in my times, because you're, as I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised in Colombia. I came to the U.S.
Right.
when I was a teenager, and I've gone back and forth, and I travel there, and I've this last time I rented a motorcycle.
Right.
And I've been lucky, I guess you could say, lucky enough that I've never had a bad encounter with the police or anywhere else around the world in my travels. To fit that stereotypical, scene that you see in a movie. Hey, muchacho, give me dinero, blah, blah. I haven't been there, but then again, I guess you could say I'm a foreigner in my own land. When I go there as well, because I was born and raised here in the U.S. and you don't encounter. Maybe in the past, or there are situations that even those things happen, but I've been, I've been in that aspect lucky enough. So I'm sure that you're like, oh, okay, well, shit, yeah. So this is how that feels,
Yeah, and I mean, well, let me say one other thing. I have been from Mexico to Panama and Panama all the way to Argentina, and then I'm sorry, Mexico to Panama, Panama to Colombia, Colombia to Argentina, and back to Colombia. And I've basically lived in Colombia the last 3.5 years, 6 months out of the year. So I ride a lot in Colombia. So my experience is Mexico, I've been stopped the most, and I've been asked for the most number of bribes, if you will. Nicaragua, well, they call it la multa. So la multa is the what do they call it? The penalty. At least I call it T.O. Google. Uncle Google, my translator. If I type in multa, it says penalty. Propina is like a tip. So Mexico, and I just drove my Jeep from San Diego to Cancun for 6 weeks. My Jeep is actually my other Jeep is in Cancun now, and we got stopped 3 times by the police and 1 time by 5 armed guys in military type uniforms on the side of the road. And I only ended up paying. Guerrillas. Yeah, they were probably lookouts. They call them hawks. I don't know the name in Spanish, but they let us by. Right, like an eagle or a hawk. They gave me a fist pump and said, "Keep going." But the police coming into Mexico City, they ended up getting $22 out of me. They wanted a 2,500 peso fine, which is $1,250. So it's crazy. But so Mexico has been kind of the police seem to, want a little extra money the most. I got stopped in Nicaragua. I probably gave them $4. Oh, here comes my girls. But Colombia, I've probably been stopped the most because I live here. But the Colombians are very friendly, they're nice, and they just have questions. and they're kind of, what are you doing? How come your motorcycle's so big? Where are you going? And Frank will laugh at this. I got pulled over once, and the police officer's like, in Spanish, well, I have 100,000 reasons not to write you an infraction or a ticket. And my girlfriend, who's Colombian, she goes, I have 50,000 reasons not to have you write an infraction. So 100,000 Colombian pesos, is
About
whatever,
30 bucks.
35,
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
bucks.
30
And we're
bucks.
like, well, I got $15 worth of reasons not to write. And then he laughed. He literally laughed and took the $15 and said, go ahead. And yeah, so it wasn't a big deal. But anyways, I'll
Now,
talk about that again in a second.
it's amazing that, aside from all those things, the good and the bad, what would you rate it? What would you rate as a whole, the overall experience, with people and the different types of individuals that you've encountered over the years?
Yeah, well, the overall experience is super, super, super positive, and the people make the trip in general. For me, the trip is every day. I know I'm going to have a good day because either I'm going to have a great ride on the motorcycle, twisty or scenery, or the landscape, the mountains and the lakes, or I'm going to meet somebody really cool. Some days you get all three, some days you only get one, but like every day of the trip, you're going to have good scenery, a great road, or meet some amazing people. So the people make the trip. You learn so much. And, from all the negative stuff that we all see on the news every day, it really isn't like that. Frank's traveled around the world. I've traveled around the world in the Navy and now all through Latin America. And, it's not like it looks on the news. Los Angeles can be tough, Dallas, Chicago, Washington, D.C. If you're looking for the wrong thing and you're in the wrong place, you're in a dangerous place. But really, just keep an eye on your six and protect your cell phone and stuff, and be smart. But no, it's been great. And I want to say, I really want to do this, Frank, and you'll appreciate it, but it's not for you. This is a plug for the country of Colombia. About 80% of the people that do the Pan Am Highway, which is basically Prudhoe Bay, Alaska to Ushuaia, and usually it's
Right.
Americans, Europeans, and Australians. I would say 80% of the people that do it that I've talked to personally, people stay at our house. If you guys want to stay at our house in Bogota for free, got a guest room, I got a Jeep. I don't have an extra motorcycle yet, but we would love to have you. The people that come through our house and that I read Facebook posts about, no lie, 80% of them I would estimate say Colombia was their favorite country, from Alaska, Canada to Argentina. Colombia is amazing, and everybody thinks Colombia is Pablo Escobar, cocaine, and Shakira. And the Colombians hate it. They hate you saying Pablo Escobar. It happened 20, 25 years ago. It was ugly. It was horrible. The Colombians are really embarrassed by it. They don't want that to be. We watch Narcos and we think that's Colombia, and that is so far from the truth. It is as safe as any other country as long as you're not doing the wrong thing. And the people are energetic and friendly, and they love to party. And Colombia, and it's not just me. 80% of travelers are like, without a doubt, and most of it's the people. But Colombia is it's hilly, it's curvy, it's green. It can be 95, 100 degrees, and an hour later you're at 10, 11,000 feet, and it's 40 degrees and raining. And it's cheap. Like if you know Mexico, I would say Colombia is about half as expensive as Mexico, because I know all of Mexico. I know almost all of Colombia. So it's cheap, it's friendly, it's safe unless you're doing something stupid. But anyway, that's a plug for Colombia, but it's from the heart. It's not just because Frank's my buddy and he's half Colombian or whatever you call yourself.
Well,
So, but
well, no, and I appreciate it, but I am full blooded, by the way. Get that
okay,
shit
yeah.
right. I'm
Well,
just kidding.
you got a blue passport, so that makes you gringo too, right?
Yeah, you are right.
I don't
I
know.
am. No, but and I appreciate you saying that about not only Colombia. I think any country, and again, I just got back from the Middle East, and there's and everywhere you go, there's stereotypes, just like there's stereotypes about the U.S. Not to get into kind of sidetrack, but
Sure.
people as a whole genuinely want to help you, and if you're making an effort to speak their language, and people, especially when you're on your bike, anybody can, especially on a traveling and a sports adventure bike, and they see you and you're trying to either talk in Arabic, Italian, whatever. People will try to help you because they're going the extra mile, and I think it's just that human aspect that we just want to help each other out. Yeah, there are bad people, but so be
Right.
it. But I think you've gotten to experience
Yeah.
humanity in many different levels, and in different types of communities, which I think a lot of us who want to do. What I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, the hardest part of going on any of these trips is just basically boom, just say, you know what, screw it, I'm heading out. Is that the hardest? Because once you peel the band-aid, it's pretty much you're there, right?
Yeah, and my experience, Frank, was I think it was October of 2017. We had a party for me up in Ramona, California, where I lived for a long time with my friends, and they called it the going away vagabundo party, right? The vagabond party for vagabond Steve, hobo Steve. And we had that in October of 2017, and I still didn't leave until December. I didn't pull the trigger. I was a little nervous. And yeah, the hardest part was just actually doing it. And you don't have to plan everything and research everything. A lot of people like to do that, and that's part of the journey. My thing is like, no plan is mejor plan. Like no plan is the best plan. And I roll out in the morning and I ride, and like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I use maps.me, which doesn't need any data. You can use it anywhere in the world. It's free as long as you download the map, of the country or wherever, while you have coverage. I use maps.me and iOverlander, and everybody uses iOverlander from Africa to Asia to South America to the US. And I'm not trying to plug anybody, but I use maps.me and iOverlander. At 4 in the afternoon, I go on iOverlander. I see a place that somebody stayed before that was motorcycle friendly and safe for the bike, because without a bike, there's no trip. So bike's going to be safe. And then I connect it to maps.me in the middle of Peru or Bolivia in the salt flat of Uyuni or Ujuni. And then I start looking for a place to stop at like 4:35 and roll in before the sun goes down. So the hardest part, you're right, Frank, is just leaving. And you can leave without knowing Spanish or Arabic, probably. I can't speak for all that, but French or Italian in Europe or whatever. You can leave, and stuff will come together. And there's a huge support group out there on Facebook. But once you start doing what you love, whatever that is, if that's hitchhiking or doing push-ups, all day, or something in the gym, or riding a motorcycle to the end of the world, you start doing it, and guess what's going to happen automatically? You're going to find other people doing the same thing. And then they'll help you, and there'll be people in front of you, and they'll say, this is how you got through the border. This is how I have a 76-year-old friend that I met in Mexico 6 years ago. We rode to Cabo San Lucas together. Haven't seen him in 6 years. Just stayed at the house. Just left Monday, Tuesday. He just flew to Leticia, Colombia, which is on the Peruvian, Colombian, Brazil border. Flew his
Yeah,
bike
I
there,
know.
flew there, threw his bike on a boat, and he's taken a week trip down the Amazon River to Highway 319 in northern Brazil. You can look that up. And he's going to ride all of Brazil down to Uruguay. It's like, and he did that because he met a guy on Facebook who did it like 2 days before him. So if you go and you do it, there's tons of people to help you, Americans, Europeans, or local people. And just ask a local, like, is this road safe? Where's a good restaurant? You go to a town, and if there's a lot of people in a restaurant, it means it's good food and it's cheap. It's not the 5-star steakhouse. It's the good stuff. So yeah, just if you want to do something, and again, be it going to the gym again or going on a around the world trip or whatever it is, just do it, and there'll be tons of support. We're not the first people doing anything anymore, but it's the first for me, so it's brand new to me, and it's amazing. So it's been great.
And you've learned Spanish along the way.
Yeah, más o menos. Yo aprender mucho español, sí. Y mi acento tal vez es de Colombia. So I learned a
Uh,
lot of Spanish along the way, and I probably
that's-
mostly have a Colombian accent because my girlfriend of 3.5 years is Colombian. So yeah,
hey, chicks dig the Colombian accent.
You mean the
Just
American accent?
yeah, yeah.
Oh well, it goes both ways. Both ways.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
and Steve, so are you on any social media platforms where people can follow you on, your madness trips and things like that? Or if they have
Yeah,
any questions, because maybe
they
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 want to
can
go on this walkabout.
they can follow me, but they can't fondle me. It sounded like you said fondle. So please don't fondle me, but you can follow me. I'm just on Facebook, like Steve Wisnoski, SteveWisnoski. And then my girl and I have it's Traveleando El Mundo.
Or
We can
Travaleando, yeah, Travaleando. Yeah,
Traveleando El
I
Mundo
follow I follow that one.
is in Instagram and in Facebook too, and that's about it for now. Yeah, I'm not that active. If you're my friend, I throw you in my WhatsApp. I don't know. I tell my story through WhatsApp, which isn't it's not the furthest reaching, but if you're my buddy, then you know what I'm up to, right, Frank? You know where I'm at in photos and stuff. But I'll
No,
try to get a
WhatsApp
little
is
more
it's
active on
yeah,
social
yeah.
programs.
WhatsApp is it's all around the world. Except it didn't I don't think it's really that active in the U.S., but in Latin America, Middle East, and they use it. But Steve,
Yeah,
I just
right.
want to thanks for your time. I'm definitely going to bring you back because I know you have a. This is kind of like the self introduction to Steve the Wiz Wisnoski.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, I got a
So
million stories, so this was great. I really appreciate the time, and yeah, you're bro, pop my cherry. I haven't even done one of these before, but I thank you, Frank. Yeah, cool, man.
No, thanks. But I'll definitely bring you back, and we'll schedule something so we can dive a little bit deeper in some of the countries, and as well as the logistics, because I know there's a lot of us. I myself, once I'm, now that I'm back in the U.S., I'm preparing some things, but I myself, the wife and I are talking about doing this walkabout, so definitely want to thank, and start preparing for that. But I just want to tell Mr. Jonathan Hartley that yes, that I do agree with him that you are definitely a wild man or a maniac on a motorcycle. That's what he said. And he also found it pretty funny the fact that the police encounters and such. But it is what it
Yeah,
is. And I think if you're a good, if you just blend in with your environment, not there like, hey, look at me, whatever, you'll be good to
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Well, shout out to my buddy John Hartley, Crow Mag. Great dude. We've got him and I got a lot of stories that might be, R-rated in some points, but not all the time. He's a great
Perfect
friend.
premise for it right here. And
Yeah,
I
that's
do.
right.
And I wanted to give a shout out to Petra and Mr. Mark Dehan. I forgot what his call sign. Felix, Mr. Felix. That's his
Okay.
call
Yeah,
sign.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Mutual friends, Mark and Petra, same thing. Shout out.
yeah. But
Cool.
hey, Steve, thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for your service, buddy. Be safe out there, and rubber side down and shiny side up, my friend.
You got it, brother. Thanks, Frank. Look forward to seeing you live and in person, but some more podcasts. Thanks for your time too, buddy.
No, no. So everybody, hey, Steve will be back. We'll go ahead and schedule him some other time to come back on the show. But as we're getting, as we're wrapping up, I just want to say that, if you're a veteran out there or even a service member who's struggling with life, with things, I just want you to know, please reach out. You can reach out to me. You can leave your comments on my Facebook page or on YouTube, wherever it is, or you can utilize the resources that are out there, whether it's the VA, military one source, the Naval Hospital, whatever, or your local BAS. But reach out to somebody, because the last thing we want is for you to be one of the, the 22 that commit suicide on a daily basis. And we don't want you to be a statistics. You do matter, and you need to be here not only for yourself but for your family as well. I want to thank everybody out there, and if you recognize the background, shout out to my buddy Mr. Ken Crenshaw. We talked to him. He was we went in the buddy program, so I'm right here hanging out with him, and he's letting me use his Marine Corps bar out here, to do this podcast. But with that being said, everybody, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and follow, and spread the word about everybody else if you like what you hear. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this right here. And I am out of here. All right, get some. See you later, everybody.